Hello friends of the electrified charging fun, and welcome to charging in both directions. Exactly, this is the video you've waited for so long. We are talking about bidirectional charging. I've got an ENYAQ here, I've got a DC Wallbox over there, and an expert who will explain everything you need to know to get started. How does it work? What do you need? What are the restrictions? Everything tied up in this video. So here we go. Let's directly start with the basics, and nobody can explain that better to you than an expert from Škoda, and luckily we have one here.
Hello, my name is Jan Špatný. I work in Škoda After Sales, and I'm here to explain and talk a bit about the bidirectional charging. So what is it? The bidirectional charging, as the name suggests, is a capability of the car not only to take energy from the grid and to consume it, but also to send some back to wherever you need it, for your home, for some other residential areas, even to the grid to help with some, for example, grid stability and stuff like that.
When we talk about bidirectional charging, we talk about DC charging and discharging, correct? Not AC discharging and charging.
That's correct. For bidirectional charging with the ENYAQ, we need DC bidirectional charger that will be able to take the DC current from the battery, switch it to the AC current, and send it to your appliances that need 230 volts to run, or 400 volts if you have some huge appliance or the whole household, for example.
Okay, so you're taking directly DC current out of the car. Exactly. And transform it over here.
Yeah. That's also the reason why the DC bidirectional chargers are usually bigger and more expensive, because they have the additional hardware in it that's needed to transform the power either from the AC to the DC for the battery when charging, or take the DC from the battery and then switch it back to AC.
Okay, so the charging from this charger also is no longer AC, but DC, exactly, like on a high-performance charger along the road.
Exactly.
It's the same principle. Everything is within the box. And here is only DC current.
Yeah, that's the correct. We are using only DC pins to charge and discharge.
So we are here now at the charging port of the ENYAQ, because one question I often get is, when I'm plugged in DC charging, discharging, how much power is the car capable of giving back to the DC wallbox?
Yeah, so to give back energy, the car is limited to around 11 kilowatts of DC power, and that's to keep the thermal management and all the cooling systems and so on, if possible, turned off. And usually that's all you need for your house. It rarely takes more than 10 kilowatts, right? Which is 16 amps. So that's plenty. But should you have a DC Wallbox that's also capable of, for example, charging 50, then you can of course charge home at 50 kilowatts. Only the discharging is limited.
So the charging is what the box can give me.
Yeah, exactly.
And the discharging is around 11 kilowatts. So basically what we also see with AC.
Yeah.
So the AC charging power is 11 kilowatts, but this limit has to do with the onboard loader. And here the limit is just due to thermal management and everything around.
Also balancing the lifetime of the components and so on.
Okay. One important question is I don't want to spend my whole battery on my home, so that in the morning the car is completely empty. Can I set any limits, like I will love to have 100 kilometers or 20% state of charge left in the car?
Yeah, of course. You can set the minimum state of charge in percentage. That, for example, the car will say I can discharge only to 50%, but no less than that. Usually the bidirectional charging has some scenario behind it. So you may, for example, tell the car or tell the charger or your home management system that you want to depart at 7 o'clock in the morning, you want 80% or more, and between what happens, you don't care, you just want it to optimize your home consumption or something like that. So in the meantime, the logic may decide, okay, so I will discharge the car to 20%, but my only goal is to recharge it till to 80 before you want to depart, right? It's the same as if you use, for example, price optimized charging with our AC Wallbox. You also don't know whether it will be charged immediately once you plug it in, or you know, during the maybe cheaper night hours if you have spot tariff, for example. The logic happens somewhere, but the goal is, of course, to have the car ready for departure once you said you want to have it ready.
Okay, so I got that right, that you use the settings on a charging location. So I need a charging location set up that this system is able to run.
Of course, if you would not have charging location set up, then you may not even be aware that the ENYAQ or ELROQ is already ready for the bidirectional charging, because that selection in the menu simply doesn't appear. But once you have a charging location created, then you can select also bidirectional charging.
So we are now in the car to set up the whole charging location and to make that DC bidirectional charging running. And the first thing we need to do is to set up that charging location. Jan, would you please set up a location for us?
Exactly, I will. So we go into charging. I will add our location as a charging location. I will name it at Škoda. Okay. And here I have my standard location setting. I can set the minimum charge, for example. Let's put there, I don't know, 40%, for example. Target state of charge 100%. We can lower it to, be a little bit nicer to the battery. And we will not need any timers at the moment, right?
Yes.
So
now we are already set up in the car.
Exactly. If we now plug in the cable, then the car will see that this is a bidirectional charger, and the possibility to switch to bidirectional will appear on the screen. So we can do it right now.
Plugging in is, of course, a very easy task to do. It's like with every charger, right?
Yeah, exactly. You see that this is a DC charging connector, no AC pins, right?
Yes.
And if we plug it in, same as any other charger, it will lock. The car will talk to the charger and vice versa, and they will start either charging or discharging based on what scenario is required.
So I'm curious, we got that indicator lamp up here, which normally turns green when you charge. Do we see now a different behavior when discharging?
No, we still see green.
So still green?
Yeah.
But now it's flashing.
Yeah, so in this case, the flashing says that the car is being discharged with really low power, so the system is setting itself up. It's now in some waiting or delay mode, and now you see all is configured, the discharging is running, and you see the normal pulsing, slow pulsing.
From outside, no chance to see whether it's going out or in?
No, unfortunately not at the moment. And now we see here charging immediately, and I will switch that to bidirectional charging.
And it directly says what you said, 40 to 80% is the allowed range?
Exactly. So I even see it on the screen here, that my limit is 40% to 80%.
Yes. So what is the charger now doing? I see it's discharging with around 2 kilowatts.
Yeah, it's ramping up its power, and it will depend on what mode the charger is set to, or what's your scenario. You may want to just power your house consumption, so you will have a smart emitter, and the emitter will be telling the charger, hey, at the moment we need 3 kilowatts or 80 kilowatts or something like that. Or you may have some just backed up power appliances, and it may be blackout, so you don't need to power the whole household. You will just power part of that what's necessary, right? The fridge, maybe a kitchen to cook something in the evening, but maybe not a sauna, not a heated pool, right? Or you may go into vehicle to grid mode, and then usually it's let's give full power, and it will run 11 kilowatts. Now you see we are losing about 60 kilometers each hour at the full power, around 11 kilowatts, 11.1 at the moment.
So Jan now set the heating to 27 degrees. It's getting really warm inside. And you see that the consumption is now to close 16 kilowatts, so negative 16 kilowatts, meaning basically that the car is always giving these 11 kilowatts out and adding its own consumption on top. Is that true?
Of course, that's correct, because you want both to power your house, for example, if there is a blackout, and you also want to preheat the car or to pre-air condition it before you depart. So you need to combine both consumptions of the car and of the load that's connected to it.
I think that's enough for a technical demonstration, as you saw how it works. But now I'm pretty sure you have lots more questions. According to my mailbox, one important topic for you is battery life and warranty. One question here is always directly at hand. When you open up the bidirectional charging menu, you see two hard limits, 4,000 hours and 10,000 kilowatt hours. And now the question is, it is an or, so it's not an and.
Yeah.
What does those limits really mean in reality, and what happens afterwards?
Yeah, so those limits are the hard limits for the functionality. After those limits run out, the bidirectional charging function will stop. And that's to protect the battery and the other components as well. But even though the limits may seem hard, if you would be using the car to power your house during the most expensive hour every day, for example, then it's 365 hours a year, so that's good enough for around 10 years, right, of bidirectional charging. So the limit is not really that hard. It's just to prevent the, I don't know, some companies may be using the car as a stationary storage and running it 24 hours a day. For that, the car is not built. It's still a car, right? It comes with this functionality which extends its capabilities and extends the use cases and maybe lowers the cost of ownership or brings some convenience to the customer. But at the moment, it's still a car, so therefore we had to come up with some limits.
Now that we have a hard limit, so 4,000 hours or 10,000 kilowatt hours and you're done, no option to prolong that. Well, I am not capable of misusing the system, right? The car prevents me from exceeding the limits.
Exactly. Once the limit runs out, the battery warranty still applies. You are still covered. You cannot damage it by
so I cannot do anything wrong or false here. And that means basically that the warranty of the battery applies for that whole time. I don't have to worry about that.
Still 8 years, still 160,000 kilometers, or whichever of those two happens first. The battery warranty doesn't change, no matter if you use the bidirectional charging or not.
So we heard about the limitations of usage. Are there any other limitations we should consider?
The only limit is to have the 85 battery in whichever variant, rear-wheel drive 85X or the RS, and we recommend the software version 5.4 or higher in the future.
So ENYAQ and ELROQ 85, 85X and RS.
Exactly.
You said software version 5.4 is recommended. We all know there's another software version out there, software version 3.x or 3.7, 3.8. What about them?
So we are currently looking into the situation with 3.7. There are some challenges for us to make the bidirectional charging work as smooth as with 5.4. So at the moment, we cannot guarantee that we will bring in the future a Wallbox compatible with this version as well.
Talking about the infrastructure you need to get the system up and running. For sure, you can't use your AC Wallbox because it's an AC box. This here is a DC Wallbox for the presentation, and now the question is, which Wallboxes, which DC Wallboxes may I use, which are approved and tested by Škoda? So
at the moment you see here the Wallbox Quasar 2, one of the pre-production prototypes that we have here for testing, exactly for checking out that it really works with our cars, right? Because the Wallbox has to talk to the car has to talk to the Wallbox by its language, and we need to ensure the compatibility between the devices. So at the moment we are working with the Wallbox to do this intercompatibility testing. We are also in touch with some other manufacturers because we know that not every customer is the same. You have the fleet customers, you have the homeowners, and we are looking for a solution for different markets, different types of customers and different scenarios. It could be vehicle to grid, it could be, blackout, emergency power, and so on. And at the moment we are testing several of those systems, several of manufacturers and their products, and we would like to offer a solution to the customers early next year if possible. It will depend on start of sales of those products that are not at the market at the moment. It will depend on how quickly are we able to debug all the potential issues, because the communication between the car and the Wallbox is not as simple as if you are just AC charging, right? So there is still lots of work to be done, but we hope, let's say, first half of the next year, you will surely see some solutions.
But maybe you already have a certain Wallbox in mind from a third party. What about those customers?
Yeah, so if those customers or rather those manufacturers get in touch, then we can arrange some interoperability testing and possibly sign an agreement and contract and offer those manufacturers as well.
So if a third-party provider has a DC Wallbox and wants to be connected with Škoda, the possibility is there.
We would love to talk to you.
Now you might think, should I get such a system? What are real-world application scenarios for something like that? Some of you might already know and have in their head what they want to do, but what are useful scenarios for DC bidirectional charging?
So of course it depends on your priorities and your goals. You can use the bidirectional charging to either get off grid or willingly or unwillingly. If there is a blackout, you may use your car to power your home in the emergency power scenario. This could happen in some regions. Other regions may be more interested in saving on charging, saving on energy costs, and for example powering the home in parallel to grid when the electricity from the grid is just more expensive. And of course then some fleet customers or utilities may be interested in vehicle to grid scenario. That means exporting the energy not just to your home but to the grid as well.
There already it is. When talking about DC bidirectional charging, normally we talk about vehicle to grid and vehicle to home. So both scenarios are covered.
Both are covered. The car is capable. The car doesn't care where the energy is delivered pretty much. It will depend on which Wallbox you will have and which functions of the system you will buy or set up, right? So there surely be Wallboxes or installations that will be capable of doing the vehicle to grid, but the customer may not want it. He wants to use the battery just for his own use, for example. And then typically fleet customers, they don't need the energy in their companies, right? The company is running during the day, there is a solar power usually and so on. So they may be more interested in trading the energy, lowering the cost of ownership and so on. And then the car is super happy to do it as well. It doesn't care.
So the car doesn't care, it's all the infrastructure behind, whether it stops in your own home or whether it goes to the public grid.
The car doesn't have the information where there is a demand for the energy. So same as with, charging from photovoltaics with basic AC charger, usually the charger is steering how much energy the car can take based on the production. It will be the same, just not the production from photovoltaics, but demand from either appliances at home or the grid.
Well, a lot of technology, a lot of things to consider, but one thing, and that is also important, we never talked about yet, and that is money. So, of course, everybody should know you need a Wallbox. You need the installation of the Wallbox, exactly. That is for sure. But are there any additional costs using bidirectional charging, some service package, something that I else need?
No. It's normal visits to a dealership. Once the car tells you to, there is no additional cost of servicing if you are using bidirectional charging. It's still the same as if you are driving without bidirectional charging.
So I don't have to buy this, but of course you will have to invest into such a Wallbox over there. And if you are already interested in something like this, you may have already looked into the market and you were quite surprised how pricey these Wallboxes are. This is not your typical AC Wallbox where you can go as low as 500 euros or 1,000, whatever. We are talking here at least 4,000 euros. It could go up 5,000, 6,000 euros plus the installation. It's not cheap business here. So also according to the limits you have in consumption, the kilowatt hours and the hours, just do a good calculation before you start your adventure. Let's look into the future of all of this. We are now starting out. Not only Škoda, all manufacturers are starting out. You don't see many DC bidirectional charging installations out there as of now. And for the first time ever, a car has more to offer than just driving. First time since EVs, we are capable of doing more, like giving energy back. So how important is bidirectional charging when we think about electric mobility?
So for sure, it's a function that the customers appreciate and that will bring more and more benefits in the future. The technology will become cheaper, the cars will be connected to the grid, it will all be an ecosystem of devices talking to each other, right? So for sure, it is important for us, and the future cars will also come with the bidirectional charging functionalities. Hopefully we will be able to even extend the capabilities of the car. Maybe it will be more power, maybe it will be more capacity. That we will leave for the next video probably. but the future models definitely will support bidirectional charging, and we are counting with it even for the long-term future.
So if it is all set at Škoda for the future, talking about the future, I see you have a lot of knowledge about the whole industry behind that. Any interesting trends you want to share with the viewers?
Yeah, so the bidirectional charging is actually even step 3 or step 4 of a smart charging. Because in the beginning, if you wanted to lower your cost of charging, for example, the first thing you could do is to not charge during the peak times, right? So
yes.
We are pretty much doing that at the moment with the Škoda, the new Škoda charger that's able to work with your spot prices or your photovoltaics. So you are just not consuming the expensive electricity. The step number 2 is you will not only stop consuming the electricity for charging, but you will stop consuming it for your home. You will supply the electricity from the car to cover this 1 or 2 hours of expensive electricity. And then the step 3 probably will be that the electricity is expensive for some reason, that there is some peak or something. Mm-hmm. So then if we are even able to export the electricity to the grid, to connect those cars to maybe prevent some local blackouts or grid overloads, that would be fantastic. And I think that's where the industry is going, and that's the future definitely lays. But you know, it's a future and it can change really quickly. So we are working with multiple scenarios at the moment. We are planning what to bring and which functions will be required to be part of the energy grid and the smart home ecosystems, and you know, integrated with home batteries and maybe some local small smart grids and hubs, and we hope that all of this will come together in the future, and the e-mobility will turn from that always asked question, but what if there is 1 million cars, electric cars on the roads? Will it be an issue for the utilities and so on? We hope that this will transform to be a solution for the utilities, because with the higher share of uncontrolled power sources, which could be the wind power plants and solars and so on, this is a controlled source that can help stabilize the grid, and that could actually be a solution, not a problem for the future.
That sounds like interesting times ahead. Jan, thank you very much for your time and your effort to give us these insights into the bidirectional charging.
Thank you for talking to us.
Bidirectional charging turned the car into an energy storage system. Although the car is meant for driving, an electric car can do way more. Because the ENYAQ and the ELROQ are not just vehicles, they are part, as we heard, of the future energy and of the future energy systems. They are technical requirements, specific wall boxes, limitations for the usage, but the basic idea is simple: power from your car when you need it. For homeowners with solar panels or as a backup power solution, this is already exciting today. But we also heard what might be possible in the future. The big concern about a destabilized grid due to the usage of millions of those cars, yet the reality will be the opposite. Those are grid stabilizers, not destabilizers. And I see this as an important message and as a big step forward to the whole renewable energy transition we have ahead of us, and which is so important for our all future. And this is just a single step by just plugging in to a bidirectional charger. And that is great. And if you think that this video was great, give it a thumbs up and consider to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel, so you do not miss out any new videos. Maybe the next one on bidirectional charging or batteries. And then we see each other in this one. And until then, stay full of energy.